Andrew Rosenberg law. Clear plans. Peace of mind. Andrew Rosenberg law. Plan it right, protect it all. Andrew Rosenberg law. Guiding you when life gets hard. Andrew Rosenberg law. Peace of mind, secure your future. Andrew Rosenberg law. If you don't plan, you're stupid.
Welcome back to If You Don't Plan, You're Stupid with Florida estate planning attorney Andrew Rosenberg. Andy helps South Florida families protect their homes, avoid probate, and build plans that actually work when life gets complicated. I'm Lisa Mosbey, and today we're talking about a tool that's uniquely useful here in Florida, the Ladybird deed, also known as an enhanced life estate deed. It's a simple way to avoid probate while keeping full control of your home during your lifetime. Welcome, Andy. Thanks so much for joining me.
Hey, Lisa, how are ya?
I'm doing well. I'm interested in this topic because maybe I can share a story. This is something I had to use with my parents in their estate. But to start, let's have you explain what the Florida Ladybird deed is.
Okay, so I love this vehicle, this topic, but I'm gonna again give a caveat, guys. Everything we're talking about is unique, and you need to talk to someone like me to deal with your specific situation, and we'll talk about how that can change very quickly. But a Ladybird deed, it's really cool. Okay. So what happens is, and if I hope you don't hear it, but I have my granddog chewing a cheese stick in the background. But anyways, here we go. So it's a type of deed. So people say, it's kind of funny when I do these Ladybird deeds and then I get it recorded and then I send it to the clients and they get it in the mail and they say, okay, we got it. And they say, Andy, I thought you said we did a Ladybird deed. I said, we did. He goes, no, it says quitclaim deed on it. I'm like, or it says warranty deed. I'm like, yeah. He goes, that's not a Ladybird. I said, yes, it is. I go, a Ladybird deed is a type of quitclaim deed or a type of warranty deed. So it may not say on the title when you see the deeds, it may not say enhanced life estate deed. Sometimes it does. A lot of times it just says quitclaim deed or warranty deed. So that's number one. So here's what it is. Right now, Lisa, let's use you as an example. You have a house down here in Florida as an example. You're single. I'm assuming you're single. I'm not. I don't know if you are. Oh,
Yes.
Sorry. Just assuming. Okay. So you have a house in your name alone. Okay. If you were to pass away right now in Florida and the house is in your name alone, it's going to go through probate court. And there's all sorts of problems with probate court, and that's a whole separate podcast. So the question is, there's expenses and hassles and delays with probate. How do we avoid that? So one of the ways, if it makes sense, is to do a new deed, transferring the property from you. Right now, it's in your name alone. Do a new deed over here, transferring it to you. So we're doing a deed from you to you. So there's no difference, okay? You still own it. You can do whatever you want with it. However, when you pass away on the first deed, it's in your name alone, and we got to go through probate court. With the enhanced life estate or Ladybird deed, we did it to you, so you still own it. But when you pass away, we have a beneficiary on the deed itself, and it goes directly to the beneficiary, and there's no probate court. That's the simplest way of describing it. So it's a beneficiary on the deed. It's really cool. It's very unique. There's only a few states that offer it. Florida happens to be one of 6.
Yes, and I grew up in Minnesota. We did not have that, but when I was a resident of Florida,
You don't have that back there either. Yeah.
no.
Okay, I'll tell
So
you.
it's a great
Want to
tool.
guess? Here's a quiz for you. Try and guess what the 6 states are. Give me a guess. So Florida's one. You can just take a guess.
I would guess maybe the states that don't have tax consequences, South Dakota, Texas,
Nope.
maybe Delaware, any of those? No. Okay.
got one of
I'm
them
not
right.
sure. Did I? Which
Florida, Texas.
one? Okay.
You said Texas. So
Texas.
Florida and Texas. Okay. Michigan. So in the Midwest, we're Midwestern. Michigan actually has it. Okay. So Florida, Texas, Michigan, North Carolina,
Oh.
West Virginia, Vermont. No idea why they are. but they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the 6
Interesting.
states, guys. Okay,
Okay.
those are the 6 states that offer this enhanced life estate / Ladybird deed.
Sure. Uh, Andy, what is one of the biggest advantages the homeowner keeps control while they're alive? What does that mean in practical terms?
It means a lot. It means a lot,
Yeah.
Lisa.
Yeah.
So there's another deed out there. Okay, let's explain the difference. So there's something called a life estate deed. Okay, it's different than a ladybird deed. So in the deed that we have right now, it's in your name alone, right? And then we transferred it to you in an enhanced life estate or ladybird deed, and you died, and it went directly to the beneficiary. There's another deed. So we're going to do a new deed, transferring from you, and we're going to do a new deed where you own it for your lifetime, and then the remainder goes to your child. You got one child, and I don't know if you do or not, but you do today. Okay, so you got one child. Her name's Sally. Okay, so when you pass away, Sally gets it. That's called a life estate remainder deed, and a lot of times people think that's an enhanced life estate deed, and it's not. Here's the difference, and that's why I'm bringing this up. Okay, very confusing, but just deal with me for a minute, Lisa. Okay, so the life estate remainder, when you own it for your lifetime, Lisa, and if you want to sell the property, your daughter Sally has a remainder interest to the property. You can't sell it without having Sally and you sign on the deed to close. That's a life estate remainder. Now let's change it and say we did a ladybird deed from you to you, and the remainder goes to Sally. The difference is that you still have the rights to sell it and mortgage it and do whatever you want with it without having Sally have to sign anything. She has no rights. Sally, your daughter, has no rights to the life estate or to the ladybird deed until you die. She has no vesting, no legal rights, no nothing until you die. When she dies, she automatically, it's like a gift. Boom, it opens up and she gets it. Until then, she has no rights, which means that while you're alive with the ladybird deed, you have full control, Lisa. That's different than that life estate remainder deed that we just talked about. Did that make sense?
It does make sense. And it reduces your liability. When you're on the deed, if somebody got hurt on that property, you're part of that involvement. So there's multiple reasons why it makes sense to use a ladybird deed, take possession after the passing. And there's obviously reasons that we use the other one. So all of them apply, but it's unique to each individual situation. The next question I have is, how does Florida's homestead protections interact with the ladybird deed? How do they fit together? What should families understand about that?
Again, I mean, listen, this stuff's confusing, but that's why I'm a lawyer and I get paid for it. So there you go. But
Yeah.
you need to understand that homestead's a totally different beast than a ladybird deed. A ladybird deed is a type of deed.
Yes. How do
Homestead
they fit?
is by statute in Florida certain legal rights that you have to give to people to live there. So if you are married, okay, if you're married and you have a minor kid, they have legal rights to your homestead property. So you could not transfer the property to anyone else unless your spouse and you as guardian, natural guardian of your child, sign on the dotted line to sell the house, right?
Mhm.
So the difference is that homestead, there's legal rights. If you're married, the spouse has a legal right. If you have minor children, the minor children have legal rights. Let's say that I am married, okay? And I want to do a ladybird deed and I transfer it from my wife and I just to me, not my wife. And then when I pass away, it goes to my child. That can't happen. That's because of homestead. Because homestead, even if you wanted to write your spouse out of the deed, you can't do it without her permission or his permission. So homestead laws are going to supersede anything that you do when it comes to a deed.
Okay.
So you can transfer stuff with a ladybird deed, but if you have a spouse and you have minor children, etc., and you try to ignore that, that will not work. It will be voided when the time comes.
Sure. And I have one more for you. How does Medicaid treat a home that's been transferred through a Ladybird deed? And why is this tool often used in long-term care planning?
Yeah. So yeah, I use it almost every day for long-term care planning for Medicaid purposes. Again, one of the beautiful things about a Ladybird deed is that it avoids probate court. And so Medicaid can't touch assets normally real estate. They won't touch it if it doesn't go through the court system by law, okay, by statute. So a Ladybird deed avoids probate court because it will automatically vest to the kids or whoever you name as the beneficiary on the deed when you die. And so therefore, it's a wonderful vehicle because it does a couple things. Number one, it's still your homestead property because you have full control, right? So it's an exempt property for Medicaid purposes. Number two, when you pass away, we still get that stepped up death benefit. So whoever you give it to in the deed, if there's a lot of growth on the property from when you bought it to when you died, they'll get rid of all that capital gains tax and they'll get the date of death value and can sell it and there's no tax. So that's the other benefit of the Ladybird deed. And the third benefit is, as I said earlier, that Medicaid will not touch it for Medicaid purposes, the Ladybird deed. So when I do Medicaid planning and there's this, and we own a house, which is almost always, we almost always will do a Ladybird deed. Literally, almost 100% of the time, do a Ladybird deed to the kids or whoever we want to give it to. So that it's no longer going to be part. It's still exempt for Medicaid purposes, and it's going to avoid the Medicaid recovery when you do pass away.
Right. And then, is this where I share my story, Andy?
Yeah. Well, hold on one second. I know you have a great story, and you're from Minnesota, and you didn't know it until you got down there how that worked, and you had a real life example of that. I want you to explain that story, and then I'm going to tell you a horror story. So you explain your story first.
How it worked positively. So
Yeah.
my folks, both my mom and dad were both sickly for about 4 years, and I was taking care of them in Florida. And we thought that my mom would pass first because she had cancer riddled throughout her body. But my dad ended up getting sick, had COVID, and then the COVID moved into pneumonia, and he passed. And so during that period of time when he was struggling with that, we for whatever reasons, I won't get into the chaos of things, the Ladybird deed didn't get transferred right away, so we were scrambling at the end when we learned that he may not make it. His organs were failing, so we had an attorney file the Ladybird, fill it out, and file that Ladybird deed so that I could then sell the home, because if my dad passed, my mom was already on hospice. I knew that I was going to be keeping that home. We wanted to move that along. And so we were able to file that Ladybird deed, get it registered. My dad passed. And then I listed the house for sale while my mom was on hospice. And she lived another 9 months. But during that time, I did sell the house. After about 6 months, we were able to get a buyer and we sold the house. And we were waiting for the closing, and she passed during that period. Now, had I not had that Ladybird deed, I would not have been able to continue with the closing. But what happened was the Ladybird deed was in place, and at closing, the deed was transferred to me, and I was able to continue on with the same purchase agreement that was written with her on hospice before she passed. So we were able to make that transition smooth and easy. It stepped up the basis, so I didn't have a
I was
tax
just gonna say,
liability
it was
with
like a
the it was a
perfect scenario
perfect
because
it was.
be-
It was.
because dad passed away and then mom was not doing well and she passed away, so you avoided probate court, right? Because it was a
We
Ladybird
did.
deed. Right. She did you a huge favor. I mean, obviously she passed, but the favor was that when she passed away, you automatically got the stepped up basis. And so when you sold it at the closing table, you had no capital gains tax, right? Because
Correct.
yeah, yeah. So it was like a perfect scenario of a horrible situation for you, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
there are
I will
tools,
tell
and
you.
it applies to each situation. So we need to
Yeah,
have somebody
yeah. Now
guide
I
us
will
through this
tell you
process.
exactly. I will tell you though, when you first entered into the contract for mom and dad, dad was still alive, yes?
No.
Okay,
Oh,
so Dad,
for
Mom
the
was still alive.
yes, for the Ladybird deed we were, but not for the closing of the house.
No, that I know, that I know. But Mom and or Dad were both alive when the contract was entered into, and you were helping them because they weren't able to handle things. So you obviously had some sort of a power of attorney to
I
be
did.
able to handle that while they're alive or incapacitated. It's called a durable power of attorney, which is a whole topic we'll talk about at some other time. Very important document to have. You had that, which helped you at the beginning, and then a ladybird deed was done, right? And when you passed away, it automatically went to you because that's how the ladybird deed works. So you had two different legal documents, estate planning wise, working for you. You had the
Yeah.
durable power while Mom and Dad were still alive, so that you can handle the financial affairs for them. And if they continued to stay alive, you would have signed everything probably as power of attorney for Mom and Dad. But
Yes.
Mom and Dad died, so now it went to you automatically, and then you signed the closing statement as the owner.
Yep.
And that's a perfect example of how all this
It
should
was.
work. Now let me give you a horror story. So
Okay.
let's say that we have a widow and she's got 4 kids. Widow knows that if she were to pass away, that the house is going to go through probate. So she does, like we talked about, she does a ladybird deed, right? So the new deed goes over here, and then now it's transferred from her to her. She has full control. When she dies, she named all 4 kids as the beneficiary. Widow dies. Perfect, right? Went 25% to each kid. 25, 25, 25, 25. Remember, guys, I said this is not a perfect scenario. One of the 4 kids was in a lawsuit when they received the asset, the 25% share. She was being sued. And guess what? Became part of that suit. 25% of the house. And guess what? They didn't have enough money to pay off the lawsuit. They had to sell the house. They didn't want to. They had to sell the house, and the 3 kids kept their 75% share, and the 25% share went to the settlement for the lawsuit.
Wow.
So that's an aha moment, guys. This is not every situation. There should have been a different avenue structured that way. Instead of the widow doing a ladybird deed to the 4 kids, she should have done a ladybird deed to her trust and create a
Just
revocable trust. And then if it's in the trust, the kids are protected. But again, that's a whole nother topic. But this is a great, wonderful vehicle for the right situation for Medicaid purposes to avoid probate. But it's a lot of situations where we got to be very careful, guys, in a nutshell.
It's very nuanced, and it applies differently for every single person that you work with, I'm sure. So, Andy, for someone who wants to explore this option for their Florida home, what steps should they take to make sure that the deed is prepared correctly and legally?
It's like anything, guys. I don't do my own when I did my own real estate, when I bought a house, I didn't do it. I hired a real estate attorney. So
Yeah.
when you're doing a ladybird deed for estate planning purposes, hire an estate planning attorney that understands and knows the nuances of the ladybird deed, has the proper language in place to do it right and gets it recorded properly, etc. I have too many people doing it yourself. The people that do it yourself, most of the time comes back to bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
So don't, the old saying, Lisa, don't be penny wise and pound foolish. Pay the
Yes.
money and have it done properly.
Especially for estate planning, because it was more, my situation, I gave you the clippet of it, but there were so many other documents, power of health, powers of attorney, all of those different things were part of that estate plan. It's a very complicated process, and it's a fun process to get to go through this. You get to talk about where your money is going to be going and who it's going to be going to and how you're planning this. We know ultimately we're going to pass, but this process can be enjoyable if you have the right attorney. And I will tell you, Andy is a fun guy to work with because he keeps it light, he keeps it educational, and he gets it done right.
I appreciate that. I try to make it enjoyable. Listen, it's
You
no
do.
fun talking about deaf, guys, but I do try to make fun of it. That's all we can do. We're all going to go there one day. Let's hope it's not for a long time.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time and this conversation today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks as always, Lisa.
Folks, thank you for listening to If You Don't Plan, You're Stupid. A Ladybird deed can be a powerful way to protect your home and avoid probate, but only if it's done properly under Florida law. If you want to see whether it's the right fit for your situation, visit rosenberglawfirm.net to get started. And don't forget to like, subscribe to the show, and leave us a review. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.
If you don't plan, you're stupid.